How I write essays, just to kind of give you guys the sauce real quick. Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's week 7 of my master's social work journey. So if you're new here, I'm currently getting my master's in social work at Aurora University, taking online classes. And every week I post a quick check-in on what I'm learning, experiences, reflecting on. And today's video is going to be a little bit more academic. I'm actually going to show you an essay I just turned in for a class and talk through what I'm learning about. But before we get into the essay, I kind of just want to give you guys a little life and class update of everything that we've been doing and kind of going over. We just wrapped up a project where I had to design and evaluate a community intervention. I chose to work on mental health access for low income and non-English speaking residents in the Lake County to Waukegan area. My goal was to create a culturally responsive outreach plan using trusted local networks like food pantries, churches, barbershops, like wraparound centers. I even included photo voice and community volunteers to create mentorship-based safe spaces. It pushed me to think about real-world application, not just theory. And that's what I really like about grad school, especially social work, is what you're doing is more so trying to utilize what you're learning. What you're learning is applicable in grad school. Not only do you have internships where you have the opportunity to work on the skills and things that you're learning, but you also have projects that reflect real community solutions. In this project, we basically had to come up with a real community solution. So mine was safe spaces for youth in Waukegan to really help with the gun violence, to help provide the mentorship and the therapy where it's needed, but to also create a system in which we can provide these services at no cost to the families. We can provide these services without having to require insurance, and those are important because those are human right violations when you don't have proper access to therapy, you don't have proper access to healthcare. So being able to bridge that gap is really why I did this project. And it's so cool in grad school because you really, because when I leave grad school, I'm going to be ready to apply what I'm learning, and that's why I really like these projects, is because they really challenge us to actually start to use what we're learning right off the bat. We also had a discussion on anti-racist social work practices, and I reflected on how power and privilege can show up in service delivery. I referenced work like Crude Ups on racial equity and talked about how mentorship can bridge therapy stigmas, especially for at-risk youth who mistrust mental health systems. Starting to get some of these guys in for mentorship can help be that gateway to therapy. First, starting the mentorship, engaging youth at risk in things that they need, like basketball, sports, the things that they enjoy, video games, being able to engage with these youth and these types of settings to be able to start that conversation, to be able to start checking up on that youth. And then to be able to bridge the gap between talking about your issues, because you could talk about your issues to a mentor. Yes, they cannot give you clinical advice, but you can talk through your issues with a mentor, and it can help bridge the gap. So boom, when it is time to take that step to go to therapy, it's not as stigmatized as it was before. Another big topic was evaluation methods. We discussed process evaluations, which track how well the program is being implemented, and summative evaluations, which tells us whether it actually worked. These were crucial for me because I've always been more into direct work, but now I see how evaluation is social justice. It holds the system accountable, being able to see that the modalities that we're using works. We have to be able to test to see what it works. That's why you need goals and progress, and to be able to check in on goals. So you're seeing, okay, what's working, what's not, so I know what we need to change. So social work knows what they need to change. I also worked on a PowerPoint presentation for my ADEI course where I focused on system barriers for Black and brown youth, especially those navigating probation, school pushout, or trauma. I use real stakeholder examples like the state's attorney's office and juvenile probation to map out how social workers can collaborate for long-lasting change. So I really like the criminal justice, the at-risk youth. I really like those who are involved in the criminal justice system when it comes to social work. That's really my specialty and what I like. But yeah, being able to work with these organizations like the state's attorney's office and juvenile probation to be able to refer us individuals to be able to, access these services, and being able to go, to the places that are needed most. These individuals need it the most, and a lot of times people shy away from working with these type of individuals. But at the end of the day, social work is about helping the least advantaged members of society. Honestly, all these projects have reminded me that social work is as much about macro policy and organizing as it is therapy. It made me even more excited to eventually build my own practice or agency that merges both one day. And it's going to be a path, but it's somewhere, where we can get to. I got a year and a half left of grad school, and then I have 2 years while I can collect my supervision hours. So in 3.5 years, I'll be able to test for my licensed clinical social worker, and I'll be able to start my own agency in 3.5, 4 years. So just having that long-term goal is really, it really helps me. So now we're gonna be going over my essay. I'm not going to show you guys the title because it has my teacher's name on there. Got to keep everything confidential. So basically, this was one of the final projects I had to do for my classes to configure this essay. And then we took this essay and actually created a slideshow presentation, which I had presented already. We had a 6 to 8 page paper to write on our modality that we wanted to create. So I have my title page. How I write essays, just to kind of give you guys the sauce real quick. First, I outline what I want. So I knew I wanted an introduction paragraph, a demographic and social indicators, interview analysis with a community member, a community social worker, key human rights and social justice, recommendations for community development, and my conclusions. So I knew I needed those. So what I did is I then went and found a bunch of sources and read through them. And I'm not saying you got to completely read through every single source, but you go to these sources and you get what you need. So for example, I found bestneighborhood.com. .org. I went on there and I got the quotes that I needed. So if I needed demographic quotes, I made sure I got the quotes on their population, their demographics, everything I needed, right? And so I'll take those quotes and I'll add them to the paragraph that I need. And so I already go ahead and do the in-text citation just so it's easier. So ultimately, by the time I'm done going through all these sources and grabbing quotes, then I already pretty much have a paper that's outlined, and every outline has multiple different quotes that I need, all the quotes that I need to be able to support what I'm doing. So now I'm just going through doing it one paragraph at a time, reading through those quotes, just to kind of, familiarize myself again with them, and then saying, you know what, now it's time to take action. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to organize this and things like that. But that's my best way, is by doing the research first, putting the quotes on my sheet of paper, and then figuring out how to write the paragraph. And that's just what helps me with organization. I did a presentation, a slideshow presentation earlier this semester basically it was this assignment. It was a slideshow presentation just leading up to this assignment. Let me know if you guys want me to actually post my assignments that I'm doing so you guys have something to look at, because this is an actual academic paper I turned in for a grade and I got a good grade in. So yeah, let me know if you guys want me to show you guys more. I'll read the conclusion for you guys just so you guys can kind of hear how I framed it. Although Waukegan, Illinois is a community full of potential, resilience, and culture, it still faces systematic issues caused by racial, economic, and structural injustice. It is clear from a combination of data analysis, first-hand commentary, community points of view, and macro-level evaluation that increasing underprivileged citizens' access to trauma-informed, culturally relevant mental health care is the city's greatest needs. Intentional, community-based approaches that empower youth voices, remove institutional barriers, and fund healing spaces are necessary to address the human rights issue. It's our ethical duty as social workers to address these injustices and collaborate on solutions that last, that uphold citizens' dignity, that encourage safety, and that guarantee that all residents, regardless of background, have the chance for success. So that is just kind of like a little breakdown of how I wrote that. And then now updating you guys. So I'm pretty much done. We, like I say, these courses, modules that I'm taking are 8-week classes. So I started on May 5th and I'm getting done. Next week will be my last video for the first module. It will be week 8, and I'll kind of just be talking about how my classes went, since that will be my last video. But yeah, right now I have all A's in my classes. I've been doing amazing. It has not been too much of a burden when it comes to doing schoolwork, as long as you create those systems. And I'm telling you, it gets a lot. It was super easy. It was super easy in the beginning, but then when you get to the point to where you got these papers and these projects, it does start to add up, and you do gotta start delegating full days to getting these assignments done. So I was able to kind of like swift by it, for a few weeks, but these last few weeks I've been spending, how I plan my Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday one class, Thursday my next class. It's been having to stay like that. So I've been doing what I got to do, but it's definitely been fun. It's been a great experience. I've been able to learn so much, and I'm just excited to be in this position here today. And before we go, let me know if you guys want me to actually start my own social work support group. We can, since we're all in grad school together, we can all definitely communicate, see if we want to meet once a week. It definitely helps just to meet with other social work students once a week to just be able to talk about the schoolwork, like study tips and just systems and organizations for getting things done, because it's not easy. So let me know in the comments. I appreciate everyone who comments. I appreciate everyone for staying and tuning in this far. If you made it this far, man, like that means so much to me. I'm looking right now, like we've been recording for 13 minutes, and if you made it through a 10-13 minute video for me to hear what I gotta say, like that just means so much to me, and I'm glad that I'm in the position to be able to share these things. So I appreciate you for tuning in, and with that being said, tune in to my week 8 video next week. It will be my last video for the first trimester. I'm going to be taking a 1 week break, and then I'll start right back up because I start classes again soon. We have the second summer module coming up, but I keep talking, man. You gotta you gotta find a way to get me off of here. I'm not gonna leave. I want to keep talking to you guys. I want to stretch this video to about an hour. So yeah, we need to meet. So hit the comments down below, and yeah, we out. Oh wait, hold on, let me do it real quick. Jamie, you okay? That was weak. Let me try it again. Alright, y'all, we out. Alright, y'all, we out today. Jamie, you okay? I just don't have it today, I guess. I don't know. I'm chilling, but it's like the energy is just like not there, maybe.